All right, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with two hosts with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick. I am the David Allen to your John Berwick.
Ooh, is this the 1 week where I get something better? Normally I get the worst one, but I think I don't know, John.
I don't know.
I don't know. Wait, so if I'm John, you're Dave, where's Kyle? He's not here tonight. He somehow perfectly planned it where he would miss the big 300th episode. I don't know what he was doing, but man, John, I am glad you're here. It's the two of us tonight doing something very special for Dual Redundancy 300. We're going to talk about Dual Redundancy 1. We're going all the way back. We're going to listen to the first episode. We're going to comment on some of the stories we talked about, how those stories may have changed, over the 9 years since episode 1. Man, doesn't that make you feel old, John?
It does.
It does. You were there day one, and we got a lot of stories about those early days. But before we get there, we have this first segment. And John, I want to see if I can get it right. But just be careful if I don't. Is it out or in points?
No. It's in and out points.
In or the out. In or the out. In, out.
Yes, it is. It is in and out points. One of these days, I'm going to get it right, John. One of these days.
Next 300 more, maybe.
Yeah, 300 more. Well, I got to ask you, how was your 4th of July? Did you see any big entertainment pieces over the 4th of July weekend?
No, I heard the locals firing off some fireworks, but I did not go out and partake myself, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, they're still doing it here all night, every night. I thought Macy's was last week, but one of the big moments, a very patriotic moment over the 4th of July weekend was the recording of the stage musical Hamilton on Disney Plus. Finally came out, years in the making. From Friday to Sunday, the Disney Plus app was downloaded over 513,000 times globally, with 266,000 of those coming from the US alone. In other words, the US downloads over that time were up 72.4% higher than the average of the 4 weekends in June. A lot of people checked it out. I was one of them, John. I know. I don't think you didn't do it, right?
No, I don't have Disney Plus. I don't know. Maybe in the future, but not right now.
Yeah. 2 episodes ago, we discussed how Disney Plus was dropping the free trials ahead of this. They knew people were like, no. You're paying if you're going to watch Hamilton. But Disney did spend north of $75 million on this. So I could see why they're a little protective of it. Originally, it's supposed to be a theatrical release next year. But no, they moved it ahead. And I will say I finally saw it. And man, I had the highest expectations.
That's
and
what
I will say
about.
It was pretty damn good. It was
yeah,
really
all right. All right.
It was pretty good. I mean, the acting and music, you already knew. It won 11 Tonys. It won a Grammy. You knew it was going to be good there. But I was impressed. And I was actually really impressed more so with the actual filming of the stage production. There was these close-up shots that put you right into the action. You had to dodge Jonathan Groff. He was spitting up a storm as King George. You had to dodge it. It was like 3D effect. You were so close to it. And the mix, I think, was pretty clean. I mean, I think they shot it over actually 3 performances, but between the music, between the actors, dialogue, everything, I thought was pretty good, at least on our, TV speakers.
Nice.
Would have definitely been better to probably see it on the big screen or really in
Live.
person. In person would have been great, but that's a little tough.
It's a good time to do it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You can't really have live shows, so.
Yeah, I really wonder if this is gonna start something here. I mean, sure, it's I believe it's through the end of the year for Broadway is closed, at least with everything going on.
You know what? These aren't the only guys to be doing it, because they had Phantom of the Opera was free on YouTube for a couple weeks. I I think Jesus Christ Superstar as well was free for a couple of weeks. There was a couple others. I think a bunch of Andrew Lloyd Webster stuff was free. You know, one was free a week, one was free the next week for a while. So I definitely see people picking this up and moving with it in the future potentially. So,
I mean, yeah, it's obviously, again, nothing beats live theater, but when you can't have live theater, to be able to see Hamilton for a much lower price, and also for places around the country that can't make it to New York or wherever their touring company is performing to see it, that's just, I think a win-win right there. I want to give specific shout outs to, I think, some of my favorites. I tried to narrow it down, but I still ended up with 4 or 5 here. Leslie Odom Jr., Renee Elise Goldsberry, David Diggs, and Jonathan Groff. It's just some of my MVPs from Hamilton. I would recommend it. I was one of those stubborn guys going into it. Like, there's no way that this would live up to expectations. It was still a really great time. It was good. It was like, it lived up. But,
nice.
All right. There was one less musical event this 4th of July weekend. Vanilla Ice planned a weekend concert in the heart of the pandemic, scheduled for July 3rd in Austin, Texas. It was called, quote, the Independence Day Throwback Beach Party. Now, his concert was really just all of a legal loophole, because the venue is technically a restaurant, even though it has a large capacity outdoor concert space. It's still a restaurant, so it can be opened. They were selling the tickets at half capacity, but it was still, the half capacity is 2,500 tickets. So that's a lot of tickets. A lot of people there. John, were you going to make the trek down to Austin, Texas for the Independence Day Throwback Beach Party?
For what I've been hearing coming to Texas, no way.
No. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Inside or out, I don't want to be crammed with 2,500 people, especially in Texas.
Especially for Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, especially for Vanilla Ice, exactly. He had this quote to promote the show. Let's see. I can't wait to get back to this. The 90s were the best. We didn't have coronavirus or cell phones or computers. We had 5-0s, Blockbuster, Beavis and Butthead, Wayne's World, Chris Tucker, and Jackie Chan. Mortal Kombat is still better than Fortnite. The last of the great decades. Music makes people happy. I think we could all use some happiness with all this corona mess happening. You like they always say, John, right? Laughter is the best medicine, right?
Yeah.
I think medicine is the best medicine when it comes to the coronavirus. Can we look at some of the things he brings up here? I mean, okay, Blockbuster, Beavis and Butthead, Wayne's World. What is 5-0s? Is that some boomer talk? What is that?
I thought 5-0 was slang for the police.
Maybe.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Or he wrote 5.0. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. I had to look this up to be sure. I mean, Rush Hour did come out in 98, but the other ones came out in the early 2000s. So I don't know what he's talking about with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. And they're still with us, so I don't know what.
Yeah.
Beavis and Butthead's coming back, so I don't know what exactly he's getting at here. You're let's see, music's in the chat. Hawaii 5-0. I don't know.
5-0 is a car? I don't know.
Mortal Kombat is still better than Fortnite. Is that true? Is that true, John?
I haven't played either of them recently, but they just came out with a new Mortal Kombat in the last year or so. In fact, I think they had Terminator versus RoboCop as a featured fight in it. So we'll throw back there.
Yeah. All this stuff that he's talking about between Beavis and Butthead, which is coming back, Mortal Kombat is coming back, everything's coming back. He's coming back, it sounds like, from the 90s here. But guess what? Surprise, surprise. The next day, it was canceled for some reason. Who would have thought?
Who could have guessed?
He has a response. We have his response. Can we play it?
Guys, going to give you a little update about the concert in Austin. Basically, I'm not going. I listen to my fans. I hear all you people out there. I didn't know the numbers were so crazy in Austin, but we were hoping that it would be a lot better by 4th of July because we booked this concert a long time ago. So basically, just want to stay safe. You know, we do take it serious, and we want to make sure that, everybody's safe. So we were just, hoping for a good time, 4th of July weekend. but it turned into be a big focal point on me, and it's not about that. So anyway, happy 4th of July, and hopefully by New Year's, this Corona crap will have a cure. Come on, go Ninja, go! We're ready to go. Anyway, all the best, everybody.
Is there anything colder than a Go Ninja, Go reference in 2020? Man. First of all, he's like, I had no idea that it was this bad. Where have you been for the last 4 months?
Yeah.
Especially if you not read the news, especially if you're like, oh, I got a thing in Texas weekend. Let me check out what the weather is. What am I going to
Sure.
pack? And then you Google Texas, and you're like, oh, what's this Corona thing? But I mean, the timing is just weird because sure, probably a concert had to be planned a long time ago, but the statement I read earlier was just days before the concert. So he was all pumped up then. And 4 hours before on Twitter, before he posted this, he was defending the show. So I don't know. I think I
think somebody else canceled him.
Yeah, probably. I think the restaurant got some bad press with this. And you're like, you know what? Do we really need Vanilla Ice? Really? I don't think so. But, oh well. All right. Well, if you can't watch a concert outside this summer, you may be able to still watch movies. Starting in August, at select Walmart stores, those parking lots will be transformed into drive-ins, complete with car-side concessions. They're partnering up with Tribeca Film. Now, John, I got to ask you, are you missing the movies this summer, and are you going to go to Walmart drive-in?
No, I don't think I'm going to go to the Walmart drive-in. I do, however, foresee this being very big in places that Walmart is a little bit more ingrained in the local atmosphere. There are a lot of places where Walmart's kind of the only store. So I could definitely see that those places a little bit more rural might really be into it.
Yeah. Now, I think this is a pretty smart idea, actually. See, they're partnering up with Tribeca Film, and they're going to be having these theaters built already in a parking lot that's already there. I mean, because if you have like a drive-in, I know upstate there's a movie theater that is actually kind of building a drive-in at the local fairgrounds, and it can be expensive. I mean, you need the land, you need all the tech stuff. I mean, already you got a paved surface for cars there, and you would think, they got some food inside the Walmart that they could sell. They have hopefully clean bathrooms, compared to the porta potties at most kind of outdoor events. I think this is a pretty smart idea. You can open space, you can socially distance. It's all there.
Yeah. I agree, and I think they'll probably get a pretty good deal on the tech needed to do it as well because there's no events going on. So, for something like that, you need a pretty high-powered projector to do that, but no one's using them. There's no gatherings, so, maybe it's really a smart move, or maybe they just buy them. They got money.
Yeah, and they may have them at Walmart.
Yeah.
Who knows? They got the movies in those movie bins. Just, let's see, what are we watching tonight? And then they just, this one. It's just like, it's Vanilla Ice. Untold true story.
Live in Texas. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Perfect. I did see that. I think it was, I want to say Garth Brooks. He did a concert, but it was through the drive-ins. So you can go to the drive-ins and you can watch the concert. So that's a different way to do a worldwide concert as well. Drive-ins are definitely having their moments right now. But yeah, I would love to go. Freya in the chat's also saying I would love to see more drive-ins. There's supposed to be one in New York City. Since May, there's been talks to turn Yankee Stadium's parking lot into one too. It would hold a drive-in experience that would run from July 4th through August. Still no word on this. I'm still waiting. Still waiting on that. I don't know how I would get there either because I'm not taking the subway up there. So it's gonna be quite a trek to the Bronx. But again, it's anything to help. Just get people entertained because people are being cooped up way too long, and soon they're going to kind of revolt. And then it's like, the virus hasn't gone anywhere yet. You gotta keep inside. But all right. Well, one more in and out point tonight to talk about, and it kind of got me in a little bit of a mad rant earlier this week. Well, let's start off. YouTube TV had some good news, bad news. The good news, the company will now offer 8 Viacom CBS channels, including Comedy Central, MTV, and Nickelodeon. The bad news, its monthly price will be rising from $50 a month to $64.99, a $15 increase there. John, I know you're not into YouTube TV, but does this now that they have Viacom, are you gonna put it down $65 for it?
No, and isn't Viacom becoming part of a different streaming service as well? Or am I mistaken?
You would think. So pretty much, this is all very confusing because also this week, Viacom CBS, which has merged with CBS, as the name says, they have CBS All Access. So you would think they would just go all in on that. But then also, CBS is a part of Showtime. And Showtime is putting series on, I believe, Peacock. I may be wrong. There's so many different, streaming services coming out. They're selling some of their programming to them. So you would think all these companies that are struggling with their streaming would all, put all their best stuff in one instead of giving it out to anyone who wants it. But this is a little different because YouTube TV is more of a, well, for lack of a better term, cable provider. We'll get into that than a streaming service like Netflix or Hulu. But a lot of those lines are being blurred right now. Man, this is not the first time this happened. I've been a subscriber since the launch of YouTube TV back when it was $35 a month. And I was happy with that. I was happy with YouTube TV. I picked those channels. I was like, okay, these are all the channels I want. I want this service because of those channels. So when it went up $40 in early 28 to include the Turner channels like TBS, TNT, CNN, I'm like, okay, I like some of those channels. That's nice. But then in 2019, it went up to $50 to cover Discovery's lineup. And now this is the largest increase yet. It's $15 for those 8 channels, which a lot of people don't want. A lot of people don't want. People are mad. There's many cancellations on Twitter and Reddit. Like, nobody asked for this. And I'm just worried that this is going to be turning into cable. It's becoming the prices of cable. Do you see that happening?
I think so. I mean, it seems like everywhere, all these services are trying to, get the most bang for their dollar instead of us getting the most bang for our dollar. And it seems like it's kind of ruining the whole idea of streaming stuff. It would be nice if they would do a package type thing, especially because it's Google. It's not like they don't have the manpower to solve this and figure this out and turn this into some kind of system. And I think that they could really do that, and people could save money, and they'd probably end up with more customers in the long run and make themselves more money. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand why there isn't packages. I mean, if you're going to go in like cable, let us choose those packages and these channels as an add-on. I mean, I don't know if they're like operating at a loss at that $50 where everything kind of went up, and this $15 increase isn't for those 8 Viacom channels. I don't know, but like, I didn't need Viacom at $50 or when I signed up at $35. So it's like, well, okay, if you want these channels, it's $10 more. Okay, boom. Or, everyone starts off with a base here. It's your $40 base package. Oh, you want these 10 entertainment networks. You want these 10 news networks. You want these 10 sports networks. You pay the extra money for that, and you can add on as you like. It was supposed to be this like a la carte kind of thing. Now it's just like, it's becoming cable. I now have so many channels. I don't need any of these. I still go through my same 6 or 7 channels, and prices are just going up across the board. You compare it with Hulu Live TV, that costs about $54.99. Sling TV costs $45, but those are on the rise too. Within 24 hours of the YouTube TV's announcement, Fubo TV, all these companies come up with these names, man. Fubo and Peacock and Quibi, it's just enough, whatever. But they increased to $65. So it's just the same price as YouTube, but they're losing the Turner channels. ESPN Plus will increase, and I'm sure that's going to affect those Disney Hulu bundles. So to sum it all up, everyone who tried to cut the cord and save on cable, guess what? Cable's back, and you're paying cable companies for that streaming internet speed that you need for these streaming networks. It's a mess. It's a mess. But I don't know, John. What are you gonna do? Is there anything you're gonna cut more? Are you just gonna deal with it?
No, I only use what I have access through my parents, so I have nothing to cut.
Lucky.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, I mean, people are just strapped for cash, and I mean, at this point, all these shows are going to start to dwindle. There's going to be less and less to watch because less are in production. So it's weird to like increase the price in a time when people need the money and don't have anything to watch. But
looking for stuff to cut, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Speaking of less things on the shows or less to talk about on the podcast, we're not talking about a TV show this week. We're not talking about a movie, a video game, nothing like that. Instead, we're going to talk about ourselves. In order to do that, we have to go back. Kyle's not here, but Jerry is. Send us back.
Back in time. I'm back, baby! Gotta get back in time.
All right, here we are. Almost 9 years ago, we recorded the first episode of the podcast entitled Pilot. It was recorded on August 30th, 2011, a Tuesday of all days, actually. Posted soon after on September 1st. Now, tonight's going to be a little weird. We're going to, of course, talk about Dual Redundancy. We're going to talk about how Dual Redundancy started, how it morphed into what it is today, and specifically what we talked about in that first episode, and if any of it means anything 9 years later. So yeah, Kyle wasn't actually there on day one, but you were, John.
I was.
And I want to ask you, what do you recall about that first episode that Mike Ledoux and I asked you to be a part of, and how we approached you, and anything you remember from that first outing?
Yeah, I remember that we recorded in, I believe, Mike's room, right? And I remember absolutely hating the chairs in the dorms and regretting sitting in the chair for an hour while you guys recorded every week. But other than that, I was glad to be there. It was fun. It was fun stuff. We got to, I got to listen to the episodes before they came out, and listening back to my editing, I wish I had done a better job. But that's why we grow and we learn. It's better now than it was then, and yeah, so much has changed. I mean, I got a lot of technical things that I know changed in my mind. I don't know if you want to talk about that, or if you want to talk about that later, or not at all, or whatever. But things like we had a different microphone setup. You guys used to hold the microphones. We didn't have stands. We used to record right into my computer, instead of doing it live. And, and at a certain point, we transitioned to recording separately, which I know we'll get to. But, back then it was live to, not tape, but live to tape, I remember, I don't know which episode it was, but there were 1 or 2 episodes where I had a brief 30-second comment for a couple of things. I remember hopping out of my chair and running over to one of your mics to grab, talking about that, and I don't know. It was very different back then. A lot has changed, and I think for the better for the most part.
Yeah, man, I remember those. Was it Ithaca College Terrace 2 dorm room? It would be hot. I mean, it was still kind of the summer there. There's no real AC in those buildings. No. And you'd have to sit there, John. I would feel bad, because I think you've obviously gotten more into entertainment and TV and stuff since then. But I feel like those first episodes, you must have just been, oh my God, just sitting here for an hour listening to these two numbskulls. But
how could there be that much to talk about?
Yeah. 300 episodes later, we're still looking for things to talk about. But yeah, Mike and I were actually inspired by this guy, Rob Cisternino. Rob has a podcast, and that kind of got us onto this podcast track. We would talk during lunch, and our conversations would just go on and on. And next thing you know, it'd be like, oh, we just talked for an hour. We have, just about anything. It would go into one story. Oh, did you see this one thing on Twitter? Oh, did you see this? And we decided, kind of, arrogant of us, but like, our discussions are so great, we must record these. And, we were obviously inspired by him, and we chose this name, which I'm not sure is the best name. I always go back and forth on it because it's based on a TV production term. That's where dual redundancy comes from. It's pretty much when you take two microphones for the same, like for the pickup of the same sound source. It's big in live production in case, one goes out, you have the other one. You're being redundant in case something crazy happens. But it's more so on the play of the fact that Mike and I shared a lot of the same takes and same opinions. So it's dual redundancy. So, but I think outside of that, especially when you Google search dual redundancy, you're not finding, at least right now, TV stuff. You're finding, engineering stuff. So it's not the best thing with that. But oh well, we kept it. It feels weird to change it now. And
especially now there's 3 of us, but
yeah, exactly. But we did 12 podcasts from that Terrace 2 dorm room. And then it became an Ithaca College TV show. And I think this is one of my favorite memories. It was in the winter of 2012. And we had just so much going on. Obviously, the crew expanded. I mean, for that, you need camera operators, technical directors, floor managers. John, you came on, for the audio for that. It was just so much going on. We needed a set. There was lights. We needed to do video graphics. Our in and out points had these crazy videos that we shot in front of a green screen. Oh yeah, we had professors on to talk about TV production. We had guests. I think we were talking about what's the best movie of the decade, or between these two shows, which one, we had like this battle, which one is better? And it was just a lot going on. Any memories from those ICTV days?
Yeah, that was the first time I really ever worked on, if you want to call it live TV, which wasn't really live, was the tape, but TV. And TV broadcast, audio broadcast, and all that is a completely different world than studio recording, which is where I had been. So that was my first real foray into TV stuff. And I remember one time patching everything at full volume into you guys. That was fun. I didn't know it was full volume because it sounded normal to me because I was behind the soundproof door. But yeah, other than that, it was cool. I remember having to go grab the mics every week and wiring you guys up. And we had actual wired microphones. And it was, I don't know, it was a completely different experience for me. It was a lot of fun, and it was interesting to do, and I'm glad I did it,
Yeah, I'm so excited, or so glad that you joined us for that, because when we did that, I'm like, well, he's not a TV student, but it's like we need him for this. It wouldn't be the same doing dual redundancy without John, and so I'm glad you stayed with that, and you've stayed with us since then. I mean, after ICTV, we did only like a handful. We really kind of, things happen. It was senior year. Mike and I had a thesis film. We had all this stuff going on, graduation, getting jobs, moving. We only did like 6 or 7 before August of 2013, episode 27. That's kind of when we started things back up. We for the Breaking Bad final season, we did an episode by episode watch leading up to the big series finale. And that led perfectly into Emmy nominations. And then it became this weekly thing. We would pretty much often do 3 shows a week, I think. And it would not even be like premieres and finales. It'd be like, oh, this was a big episode this week, or we haven't talked about, The Walking Dead or Glee recently. So let's just talk about
checking
those.
in on a random episode of the series, whatever it was that week.
Exactly. And now we just do 2, but we kept plugging along. Mike ended up leaving around episode 100. He still makes those Survivor appearances, here and there. John, you joined in at 101, and then Kyle joined full time in 114. What was that like? Because you were mostly behind the scenes. You would do the movie podcast with us, Back to the Future and Ghostbusters, but then you became a on-screen correspondent here. Any memories of that?
It was very different. I mean, I had to start actually watching the shows, and there even still there's some that I'm not caught up on that you guys, you're like, all right, we're doing the season 6 premiere or whatever. It's like I haven't watched 4 seasons, 5 seasons, 6 seasons. I can't do that. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I feel a little bit bad that maybe I'm not as versed in entertainment as you or Kyle are, or you or Mike were, or anything like that. But for the most part, I'm glad to be here. It's it's fun to do. It's fun to talk about.
Yeah. No, I think, and I don't know. I think you've definitely. I've seen growth with you, just with your TV takes and your opinions throughout the years. I think even for me personally, I think this has almost helped us look at TV differently and the production differently, and just kind of see the industry from a different side of things. Every week it's a new story, new things going on. But I want to kind of go now to 2011, that first episode. I want to play just like the first minute here of the podcast, complete with a cold open that we used to do. So, all right, here we go. Send us back. All right, podcast meeting, roll call. Here we go. Dave, present. Mike,
present.
Murray,
Absent.
All right, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all the latest on television and entertainment news with two hosts with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of your hosts, David Allen, and the other host is
Mike Ledoux. What's up, guys? Podcast world.
Here we go. This is episode number 1
of many.
Hopefully. I mean, we have absolutely no idea what we're doing here.
But we have nothing else to do with our lives, so this is a pretty good venue for us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this could be an absolute train wreck, but, hey, at least we tried, right?
It's probably going to be a train wreck, but we're anticipating that, and maybe you'll enjoy part of the train wreck.
Maybe the 4 viewers watching this or listening to this.
Yeah, they're not watching us.
They're not watching us. Hopefully not. We want those people watching us now. We got people in the chat. Let's see, a lot of people here tonight. Freya, Taco Chili, Muse Sticks, a lot of people in the chat watching. But what did you think of that, John? Did that bring back any memories? Is it a train wreck?
It's not a train wreck, but all I heard is into the mics. That we thankfully eliminated. I can't even make the same noises you guys were making. The voices getting quieter and louder as you move closer and further from the mic. The intro just kind of cutting out at some point instead of fading.
I don't know if I just forgot. Oh, I mean, he was like, I think I forgot like a word in there because it was still new. I didn't.
No, I'm not worried about that.
I do that every week.
And then there's no compression, like barely any compression. So the voices really are not, especially something like this. You want your voice to be filling the space basically, and it kind of I heard them ducking down a little bit. So from a technical side, a lot has changed.
I will say, we had this cold open. I don't know what we were doing. We had the Flight of the Conchords band meeting. It's very specific of the time and our interest then. I don't know if anyone got that.
I didn't watch Flight of the Conchords until earlier this year, so that even now I didn't get it until you said it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, oh wow.
Doesn't really work when I'm doing my own thing, but oh well. Other than that though, I think it pretty much is the same. I mean, it's the same intro wording. I got the all right in there somehow. The theme music, we do Real and Spectacular later on. So much the same. Little different. I feel like, I don't know if you listened back to it. I listened back to the full show. I think overall it just felt slow. It felt like I was worried about like every word I was saying. Not anymore. I'll just say words. I'll just say things. I don't care.
As long as it's not a cuss, it comes right out, right?
Yeah, it was very calculated with every thought I had. And you know what? No, that's not a good podcast. Just say whatever comes to mind at any moment. But yeah, a lot of things did say the same, including this first segment. I never remember the title, but I actually remember it. We're not going to go to it. But it's the in and out points. And for that one, we did the VMAs, the Video Music Awards 2011. And we'll talk about these a little bit here. That's all we talked about for our first in and out points. Let's see. Katy Perry and Adele had the most wins with 3. Katy won Video of the Year for Firework and won 2 for her collaboration with Kanye for E.T. Adele, however, lost Video of the Year in Female Video, the latter of which to Lady Gaga's Born This Way. She did, however, win Best Art Direction, Editing, and Cinematography, Rolling in the Deep. I know we're not the biggest music guys, John, but any of those names, any of those things remind you of anything? Katy Perry, should she have won over Adele 9 years later?
I don't even remember what music came out that year. I'm trying to think of what Besides the ones you mentioned, like it feels like a lot of those songs that you mentioned were like there, and then like I know Adele did one of the Bond songs, Skyfall, but what else has she done? I can't think of a single thing she's done. Like I just feels like everyone fell off the face of the earth a couple of years later. I don't know.
Yeah, let's see, because that was the year I believe of 21, because she always would name her albums after the age she was. She has. It's been a bit of time. Honestly, you know, there's gonna be Adele fans at me right now. I want to say there's a 27 in there. So and then outside of that, she must be still working on whatever she's up to now, 32, whatever. But it's interesting because I will say, maybe I'm just kind of down on Katy Perry. I feel like Adele would have been the bigger choice. It's always hard to separate music in the music video. It's always hard to separate the two. But like, I mean, I would say I think Rolling in the Deep is definitely the better song over Firework. It has stayed longer. It's more memorable, I think. I don't really remember the videos too much, but it's also interesting. This is like the Emmys and the Oscars. Like she won art direction, editing, and cinematography. And it's like that's like them winning directing, writing, and acting, but not series. She doesn't win the main one over, you know, Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, which is that's interesting. She wins all the tech awards, but not the main awards. But now there's some other highlights. Lady Gaga was her alter ego, Joe Calderone. Do you know what that is?
Only because I listened to the podcast, and even then, still, I kind of don't.
I'm still confused too. I'm still confused too. What was Joe Calderone? It's like a persona she had. But she did introduce the Britney Spears tribute for the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award. There's going to be a couple times tonight we're going to bring up quotes from that episode, and I don't know if they've held up as well. At the time, Britney Spears was 29, and we actually thought it was too early for this Lifetime Achievement Award. Quote, "The best is yet to come for her."
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know if we were right on the money with that one. I mean, if you think about it, though, 2011, she just released Femme Fatale. And at that time, she was back. She had a number 1, number 3, and number 7 Billboard Top 100 single. So it's like, okay, things are back in motion here. But I mean, I can't name a single song. And the only thing, I actually looked up Britney Spears. The only thing that was coming up was some of these baffling TikTok videos. If you have a second, just type in Britney Spears TikTok, where she just like walks in a frame, poses, walks out, walks back into frame, poses, walks out. And not even a crazy pose, just like her smiling. So that's what she's at right now. So the best yet to come for her, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I don't know if that held up.
I can only think of like 2 instances of even her in the news since then, I think, you know, and it wasn't even for music. So yeah, that didn't exactly pan out very well.
She did beat Usain Bolt's record for the dash. Remember we talked about that on In and Out points? She did beat that record by...
That must have been the second news point I was thinking of.
That was the other one. Outside of that, for the VMAs, one of the interesting things to note, Beyonce was expecting her first child at the time with Jay-Z. I wonder if those two are still together and what's going on with them. But last week it was announced, though, that the VMAs would take place here in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center August 30th, but with a limited to no audience. What do you think about that, John? Are you glad to get some live production back?
That's nice. I think they should do it. I think it should be no audience.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have to do the NHL route and add the audience in post. That's fine. Or live while they do it. But don't let anybody in there. I mean, it's too soon. It's still too soon. Just do it, but do it right, you know?
Yeah. Already, like, the next thing we're going to be talking about, I'm worried about the crew. That's the thing I'm most worried about, because these events, there's no audience, but there's still, especially an event like this, hundreds of people that are working behind the scenes in close quarters for extended periods of time. That right there is worrisome, less so than the no audience, but limited audience. But
it's a lot easier to write that into a contract, that they have to take steps and probably get regular medical checkups, if not daily. I know when I go back to work, I'm gonna have to do a daily self-check. It's a lot easier to put that into a contract and enforce it than it is however many people in the audience that you're going to see for one night. So
Yeah.
it's doable. It's just you got to put some effort into it,
Yeah. Well, that led into our next thing we're going to be talking about, because there's rumors about that show coming up as well. Big Brother 13. We actually talked about the double eviction episode of that. It was in our Real and Spectacular segment. In that segment, we briefly mentioned the Celebrity Apprentice. I wonder if anybody from that show went on to do anything. And then Mike had a comment that does not hold up at all. I don't know what was going on at the time, what we were thinking, but he said, quote, "Andy Dick, if you're listening right now, we appreciate you." I want the record to show. I take all the appreciation out on that one. We're erasing that from history 9 years later. But cut that out. But for this, it's going to be hard to talk about Big Brother 13. Who cares at this point? Like, who cares what the double eviction led to on Big Brother 13? But we can discuss some of the rumors around Big Brother 22. That's what would be happening this summer. It was finally reported by a trade deadline that we may have some official preliminary prep going on. This show takes place on a LA studio lot, on the CBS lot there in Los Angeles. And normally house guests have to undergo a sequester of a few days before they go into the house. But for this, with everything going on, that would now be 14 days before the starts. It's going to be a little bit longer. They're going to have to wait 14 days. And it goes right back to what we were talking about with the VMAs. I'm worried less about the house guests, but again, the crew.
Yeah.
And because you got the behind the scene folks working close quarters, building competitions, getting them food. Then they have to bring it into like the storage room for them to go in. There's still going to be some cross-pollination there. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Big Brother 22 could go on?
I think of any show, it probably has the best bet, just because most of the people are isolated. But yeah, I agree. The crew is a real concern. Again, that could be something that again is enforced by contract and all that, and self-checks and all that. It makes it a lot easier. But yeah, I don't know. I would hope that things will start easing up and returning back to normal if it's safe to do so, but I don't know.
Yeah, America's Got Talent recently actually became one of the first shows to come back. They actually made this large outdoor set. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with it for these ones specifically, if they had an audience for that or if it was just the acts and the judges. I don't know. But Big Brother, I will say, is one of the shows, at least with the editors, I feel like could really work from home, because there's a lot of fans already that rip the live feeds and make their own videos and their own stories and their own episodes from the live feeds. And if those are publicly available to them, imagine what the actual editors can do.
Sure.
That are professionals. I mean, so I think that could be done. Obviously, at the house guests, maybe they scale back the competitions. I don't know. Either way, I feel like it's going to be a long time before we can actually start, because like normally we would be watching it right now. But again, we need the 2 weeks of quarantine. Once they get the green light, and then they usually film about a week before we see anything. They have a week of just getting something together for us. So who knows? Is that August at this point? I mean, and if God forbid, if California numbers get worse than they already are, will they need to stop? Big Brother Canada 8 was actually filming in March when they pulled the plug on it, when the government was like, no, we're done. We're not an essential business. It's over. And they had to scrap the season. So that would really suck, especially as someone who loves the integrity of games and these strategy games like Survivor and Big Brother, for them to just kind of pull the cord. I mean, you can't reset everything, especially when these contestants will now see, oh, that guy's actually lying to me. Oh, that guy's the loyal one.
Sure.
Oh, this person's that. It really will mess up the game.
Maybe this is a good opportunity to get to somewhere a little less populated. I mean, I don't know if that really would work though, because you got all these people moving to less populated place. If they bring something with them, then I don't know. But they almost need like. Go ahead.
I was going to say what they need to do is, we talked about it earlier this year, the circle. That whole thing was them in their own little apartments speaking over a Siri type voice.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Just use that. Use the circle for this season instead of a Big Brother game. But I don't know. The rumor though is that this season is All Stars 2, and this would be big. Fans have been waiting for a long time for this. The last one was Big Brother 7 in 2006.
Wow.
They've had All Stars come back, but it's never been a full All Star season. And the cast that so far has been rumored on Reddit and on Twitter isn't necessarily all-star worthy, if you ask me. I mean, they're ones that are like, really? I guess that's a character. That was a fun person to have on screen, but all-star? I mean, you're not getting Dr. Will. You're not going to, CBS is going to have these true strategy players. They need their young goofballs that are these hot babes that are just there for eye candy and for their Instagram likes. Like that's kind of like the new thing that they always cast, which sucks because they often don't make good television of strategy because they don't know the show, like someone like, as I mentioned, Dr. Will. But the one there was a lot of talk about was Dan Giesling, which many consider, I think me included, one of the greatest players of all time. Just not on Big Brother, but also just in reality television. He won Big Brother 10. He got second place. Many argue should have won Big Brother 14 when he came back. He's one of the greatest of all time. And there was talk that he would come back, and I just be like, why? Like, even as a fan of him, I'm like, don't do this. Like, I didn't want this. Like, what do you have to prove? How can you get much better? Like, you can't really do much better than what you did. Your legacy is so great. And what, you're going to come in and be the first one out? Like, what's the point of that? And especially with all the hoops you have to do to get into this season. But, if anything, you got to wait until like a Survivor 40, where I won't spoil the winner of that, but it's like that person had a big target, of course, because they were a winner. But when it's all winners, sure. It's, we can't get, on Survivor Game Changers or on other Big Brother seasons. Like, well, this person won before. These other 18 people didn't. Let's vote out that one person that won.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm glad that was kind of debunked. He's been on Twitch streaming as well. He's a big Twitch guy. So looks like we're okay. His legacy will stay intact. But all right. One last thing to talk about tonight. The Emmys from 2011. We're going. Can we predict these this year, John? Is that still okay? The Emmys of 2011, to see if we get those right. We did the comedy series ones. We talked about the 6 nominees for comedy series that night. They included Parks and Rec, The Office, 30 Rock, Modern Family, Glee, and The Big Bang Theory. I know you listened to the podcast, but we didn't reveal the winner then because we didn't know it. John, out of a guess, do you know who won out of that group for comedy series?
I thought it was Big Bang, right? Because they won. I think they won like every year for like 8 years or something, didn't they?
No. Modern Family was the one that won out every year, and they won. That was their second win this year. But so we went through the shows, and I have some points that we can bring up real quick. I mean, as expected, we were high on Parks and Rec and 30 Rock. We especially liked 30 Rock and how they kept taking chances. They got the Queen of Jordan episode, the live shows, one of which later on Mike and I would actually attend at 30 Rock. Kind of an interesting fact there. That was a lot of fun. And of course, we were down on Big Bang Theory. We were pretty much, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. And we kind of foreshadowed a few of the issues that 3 shows would end up having. The first one I want to talk about is Modern Family. Modern Family won, the second of 5 consecutive wins for comedy series. And we both agreed there was a sophomore slump that year. And we said there was no character development. We were worried that, it would just become bland with all these repeats. Worried about a Cousin Oliver situation where they would just bring in new kids to keep the cute factor up. They would do that with the kid Joe. We talked about the series finale. Do you remember anything from that, John, when we talked about the series finale of Modern Family?
Not a ton, no.
Yeah, it was one of those things that went in and out. I was a big fan season 1, less so in season 2, and as the seasons went on, I just fell out of it because, again, it did what we said. It just stayed in that rut, which is good because it was a good rut to be in. It wasn't like copying a bad show. but a copy of a copy of a copy,
Mhm.
it loses its luster. It just isn't as good. And that's what I think happened to the show. When we talked about Glee, we said a sophomore slump wasn't enough. We called it a trench. We said, the show was written by Twitter and fans. Season 1, it looked like, they had the story and then they added the songs in after to complement the story. The opposite here. It looks like season 2, we said the songs and iTunes came first. They got to get those iTunes sales. And I want to play a clip. This will be a flashback to, first of all, what music was going on during this time period, but also what Glee was doing in its second season. Again, not for the story, but for those iTunes clicks. Here's the Glee rendition of this famous song.
Barbara Streisand.
All right, man, those Glee cast members, what a voice on them. I'm glad we got the episode that involved around the Barbara Streisand duck sauce or duck soup. What was the one they?
I didn't watch any of Glee, so I have no idea.
Yeah. I remember grooving to that song at the Terrace 2 parties that we were at, but I don't know, man. Glee, what were you doing? Mike had a great point, and I wondered if we still have smart conversations and takes like this, but Mike called it, quote, a virus changing itself to adapt and losing its own identity. Like, well, Mike, that's a very astute point. Did we use all of our good lines in the first episode and then never say anything that good again? But we did also kind of lead into the comedy drama issue that are still faced by the Emmys, because Glee, for the most part, was a dramedy. It wasn't necessarily a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have that today, this dramedy debate at the Emmys. I mean, when you have shows like Atlanta and Rami and Better Things and some episodes of Dave this season, do you still see it as a problem, John, that the comedy and the drama at the Emmys is too much of a black and white and not all-encompassing like the shows are today?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you definitely have some shows that are clear-cut one or the other, but there's a ton that fit neither one, and it's weird because you can have something that kind of sweeps a category that isn't necessarily strictly in that category, or something that might deserve to win that's strictly in a category that doesn't. So I don't know. It's not as good as it could be, I think.
Yeah, you talked about some of those wins, and I can run through them real quick. I mean, we definitely had some issues with the actual results in retrospect here. We were bummed Community wasn't even nominated. And we mentioned all the Modern Family wins. I will say that these were deserving. Ty Burrell, Julie Bowen in the supporting, those were their first wins there. But Modern Family kept going with writing and directing. It was the Jim Parsons win here that I think really irked us back then, if I remember correctly. It was their first win for 4 for Sheldon Cooper. 4 Emmy wins for him. He beat Steve Carell here. This was Steve's last shot at an Emmy for the Goodbye Michael episode. The fact that Steve Carell never won an Emmy for The Office is a crime. Is a crime that he never won, especially for Goodbye Michael. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And it goes into what we were talking about with The Office, and we mentioned how this would probably be the last chance for awards for it. This was season 7. It was their last series now, and we were just worried about where the show was going to go. We knew Andy would be the boss. We didn't want it to be. Mike suggested that Creed would stay the boss because he was for a short time, and they would focus less on the boss element of the show, but more on the Office antics. We talked about The Office when we did our 15-year anniversary rewatch special there, John, but I know you weren't a big Office fan, but do you kind of see what we were saying there?
100%. It's a total 100% tonal shift of the show, and it was not for the better. So I completely agree. That was their kind of, you said it right, it's his last chance, and unfortunately it was taken away by a guy saying Bazinga every episode.
Yeah. And then he would end up getting 4 Emmys. Steve can't even get 1. Oh my God. But All right. That was it. That was episode 1 of Dual Redundancy. We ended with a thank you to you, of course, as our audio engineer for sitting through it. But also we thank Ben Hamula as our lighting designer. Do you remember when we had a lighting designer on the podcast?
I do. Where is he now?
Yeah, we could use him now. I joke though, John, but I got to say really a huge thank you to you. I say it every week, but I really could not do this without you at all. And this is really something that means so much to me. It's like a passion of mine. And for you to spend not just the hour of the podcast doing, recording this with me, but you're directing the Twitch show every week now. We have a lot of great Twitch graphics, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But you mix the show, you give me the MP3s, the videos to post. I always have these small fixes and you always do them. I really appreciate it, man. And I'm really excited for what we got, coming up. We have so many changes, and a lot of it is with you, John, and especially for our Twitch show, a brand new layout that we debuted tonight for the video show. I mean, do you want to explain Twitch? I think for the people out there, I mean, I know there's a lot of people. I mean, before I really did Twitch with you, what is Twitch? How can they watch the show? How easy is it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Twitch is basically live streaming. Right now, me and Dave are zooming with each other's doing this, but it's almost the same thing, except the audience isn't. We don't see the audience, their faces or anything like that, or talk to them. But Twitch is live streaming. I mean, I don't know what else to say besides that. It's live streaming. We have prepared content on screen that we show you. There is a chat which we use to interact with the people who come and watch live. It's kind of like the podcast, just heightened a little bit. You end up having images. You end up having video clips. Basically everything that you're only hearing on the podcast, you can actually see on Twitch. So
yeah, and you bring up the chat, and we had a lot of great people in there tonight. I listed a few earlier, some new ones down here. What's up, Nikki? Dark 639. Yeah, there's a lot of people in there. Always a good time because I pull from them with some of their reviews. They're chatting with each other, reacting. It's a lot going on. Let's see. The Jackson 81 just entered. It's a lot of fun. I feel like to have this element of just not us, the three of us and our opinions, but all these guys as well, to mix in with that, and you can join them. It's really easy. We're live Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. At least that's our usual time. You can always find out the exact time or any changes on Twitter at Dual Redundancy. But live Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, and it's twitch.tv/Dual Redundancy. The chat is there on the right, but if you can't find it for some reason, it's twitch.tv/Dual Redundancy/chat. And a lot of changes to our Twitch as well. We updated our about page with some show information, a little bit about us, a lot of different links. You can find everything there. One of the things that we did add is a little donation tip page. And I will say, I won't bring this up every week. I never feel obligated to send anything at all. This is 100% just, it's for fun. It really is just for us, doing this just because we enjoy doing it. But anything that is donated will go 100% back into the show. We have the hosting fees for the podcast, the domain for the website, stuff like that. Maybe if it helps, maybe down the road, it could help with a streaming service that we can split between the three of us so we can watch more stuff to talk about on the podcast. But again, never feel obligated, but the information is there on the Twitch page if you do want to donate. Now, John, I'm a little new to this. Can they do this live during the show only, or can they do it anytime?
They can do it at any point. They can do it at any point. If you do it during the show, a little pop-up will pop up thanking you. But yeah, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. And again, never feel obligated. If you do want to support us and you can't do that, we completely understand. The best thing would probably to help us is just subscribe, leave a review on iTunes. That would really help kind of getting us through the iTunes clutter of so many podcasts. The more reviews, the comments we get there would help us stand out and grow. And the biggest thing is just tell your friends. If you enjoyed the podcast and you think others will as well, just tell your friends, share the links. That would really help us grow as a show. And I mentioned some of those websites there, but Facebook, Twitter @Dual Redundancy, and you find episodes on YouTube, youtube.com/Dual Redundancy, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify even, the blog, dualredundancy.com, and of course, as I've mentioned many times, twitch.tv/Dual Redundancy, Tuesday nights there. We have a lot coming up in July. We have the launch of a new streaming service, Peacock, and we talked about the Emmys of 2011, but we're going to have the Emmys of 2020, hopefully. The nominations come out at the end of the month. But next week, we have a movie and a TV show. We have Hulu's Palm Springs with Andy Samberg, and then we have an HBO Max animated series, Close Enough. I feel like there's a lot of animated shows coming up in the quarantine. It's a little bit easier to produce. So those are the two things we're talking about next week. Yeah, that is it for Dual Redundancy 300. Again, I got to thank you, John, for being with me for 300 episodes of the podcast, doing everything you're doing, the amazing graphics that you made for Twitch. I'm blown away.
I didn't make them alone. You definitely helped out with them, so
I did
don't forget
the first cut with the Photoshop, but you did all the cool stuff with the motion there. And then, even though he's not here tonight, Kyle, for always, doing the podcast with us as well. And the original host started it with me, Mike. Couldn't do it without all you guys. But until next time, until the next 300 episodes, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.